Welcome back. As I promised, now this second part of the interview is the victory that you just recorded and your team, where the Nigerian law or court have sitting in Abuja, that's the Federal High Court in Abuja, have recognized the unlawfulness of the decision taken when they arrested and deported the Cameroonians who were here in Nigeria. And the question that a layman like me would like to ask to know is, well, it is a victory, a judicial victory, recognizing that the act of the Nigerian security forces, in collaboration with their Cameroonian counterpart, violated with impunity all international law. Now that you've won that victory, one, how will you enforce it? The second aspect of that victory is that there is an aspect of compensation. How will you be able to compel the Nigerian government to compensate those people, that is the Naira 10 plus 47 or 49 Cameroonian arrested in Gembu, Taraba State, all of them deported right back to Cameroon. Now to the first aspect of the question, how will this law, this victory, be applied on the ground?
First of all, let me say that this is a straightforward process in Nigeria. That if you are arrested arbitrarily and your rights are violated, the court naturally will rule in your favor. It's based on the principle of substantial justice. They don't look for technicalities. They don't look for any problem. You know, they look at your rights, which are fundamental, which are inalienable rights. You know, which makes you a human being, really. So that is one. Two, it confirms, first of all, that they did not do anything. They did not violate their status as refugees or asylum seekers. That is, there was no basis to arrest them.
When you say there were no basis to arrest them, I understand you are their lawyers, but I understand.
That is what the judge said.
That's what the judge said, but
the judge said there was no evidence
that
to show that they had violated any law of the country, and that even the process of arresting them, there was no arrest warrant. You know, a warrant would have suggested.
But what do you make? I'm sorry to interrupt. What do you make of the allegation that they were arrested on the basis that they had a training camp in Taraba State, and it was proven that the link between the Naira 10 and the military training camp in Taraba State, hence they were arrested?
There was no military training camp.
Okay.
Nobody has alleged that there was a military training camp. No evidence was adduced that there was a military training camp. Even in the course of their interrogation by the Nigerian military, they were never asked any question about a training camp. So, because I've had opportunity of meeting them in Yaoundé. So there was no allegation at all that there was a training camp. No such allegation. The evidence before the court, which the judge, if there was such allegation, I'm sure the state, the Attorney General would have raised it. But the evidence before the Attorney General simply said that the court had no jurisdiction to hear the case, and that there was no
basis.
There was no basis for the action, because they did not have any contact with these people. You know, that we didn't file. So the court said no. On issues that has to do with human rights, you are your brother's keeper. So to put it in a layman's language, that even you as a citizen can file an action whether you have the consent of the victim or not, you know, and then you can file an action to seek redress, to uphold justice.
To uphold justice.
Yes.
Now that
there was no evidence in this case that they had done anything to violate their status as refugees.
As refugees in Nigeria.
Yeah.
But now that you have won that victory, the law court in Nigeria seemingly is more independent. How will you now enforce the ruling? When I mean by enforcing the ruling, I mean, will they be brought back from Cameroon to Nigeria?
Well, for me, the judgment was straightforward. first of all, the court acknowledged that they were held that their rights were violated, and that by denying them access to their lawyers, they also breached the due process of law, and that holding them in detention in a cruel, inhuman, and degrading form of punishment.
How cruel and degrading was it?
It was in the basis of that the court has held that they should be paid 5 million naira each as compensation for the illegal detention. Then, as regards the deportation, the court also held that their fundamental rights were violated because all the international instruments Nigeria and Cameroon anyway are parties to were violated. You know, so based on our prayers, the court held that they should be repatriated back to Nigeria, and they should be because of that violation. On account of the violation, they should be paid 200,000 naira compensation, which is about almost less than $1,000 each. Those are the 47 others. They were 52 in all. Some of them were brought from. They were arrested in a football field. Many of them were picked randomly by police.
So it was not in a training camp.
No, there was no training camp. They were refugees. Some of them were playing football when they were arrested. You know, and there were 3 other people who were arrested with them who are Nigerians.
And where are they, the Nigerians?
They've been released. I got them out earlier on bail.
Oh, they were taken to Cameroon?
No. They were arrested in Gembu and brought to Abuja.
Okay.
So when we went to when they deported, after deporting the rest, they left them behind. Naloa Ojong, one Mrs. Winifred Augustine, one Nasir Ruba, and one Genesis. Thank God Genesis, that is his name. And they were now transferred to the police. So when they were transferred to the police contacted me to say, we have these people in custody, find a way to release. So I went to the police and asked for bail. So the police further investigated their citizenship and concluded that they were Nigerians.
Okay.
So they were released. That Mrs. Augustine, she was arrested because those refugees stayed, some of them lived with her. She has a relationship with Cameroon, I think maybe one of her parents. You know, I know the boundary between Cameroon and Nigeria, they have there was this ethnic affinity. So they were now released on bail. After the release, it was after the release that we now, and then when I now went to Cameroon to investigate what happened to them, because nobody could ascertain conclusively where they were, I got to know that those who were arrested in Gembu were being flogged every evening for 2 weeks.
So those arrested in Gembu were being flogged?
Tortured. Beaten.
Every week?
Every evening for 2 weeks.
Wow. And
I got to know this information during the trial.
Now there's another aspect.
And also,
yes. Yes.
And also, because of that, I think the judge did the right thing by awarding them 200,000 naira as compensation for that traumatic experience.
Now, tell me and those who are listening to you, is there any woman there with an underage child? I mean, a child which is about 1 year old.
Let me tell you about that. There was another group of people who were detained in Calabar. That lady you're talking about, I met her the other day in Yaoundé because she's been released, but banned from leaving Yaoundé area. I also saw the baby that was detained with her. I met her husband, who has now been arraigned before the military tribunal. 10 of them were arrested. No, 12 of them again. 12 were arrested in Calabar.
So finally, how many are they?
They were arrested in Calabar. Now we have another action in court on their behalf, a similar action, but that has not been decided. It was filed by a lawyer from Calabar.
Okay.
Who is now working with us. So the lady who owned a hotel where they were staying, her mother is Cameroonian. She was also detained, but then after that they were transferred to the SSS. Those ones were transferred to the SSS. It was the SSS that now released 2 of them. Then the rest were deported to Calabar, to Cameroon. So they are still in detention in Cameroon. I think the two of them also were arraigned before the military tribunal just the last day I was at the tribunal.
Which means that finally we have about 60 of them from Nigeria there.
Yes.
Now, how will you get that money to compensate them?
Well, according to Nigerian law, if the state does not appeal, or if that judgment is not set aside, they must pay. It's straightforward. I have been affected before. I was detained sometime in 1983, and the court ruled that I should be paid some money, and I was paid. It happens all the time here in Nigeria. Once the court rules that your rights have been abused, violated, and some compensation are awarded, the state pays.
The state pays.
Yeah, that is how it happens here.
Now,
how in this case, we are going to draw the attention of the Attorney General to the judgment. Once we get certified through copies tomorrow, that is on Monday, and then we write to them, draw the attention to them, and ask for payment, ask for the enforcement of the ruling to give effect to the judgment. And so, paying the compensation is part of giving effect to it. The other one is to have them repatriated from Cameroon.
Is it possible?
Well, I believe Cameroon is a democracy, it's a state of law that is governed by laws. So is Nigeria. So I believe it's an opportunity for the two countries, the way they came together to carry out an illegal act, a violation of their fundamental rights. They should also come together, discuss how to repatriate them and remedy the situation.
But these are countries, you say they are democracies, but they violated both with impunity international law. How do you think that now there will be a reversal of attitude?
The court has ruled that this action was a violation of international law that they are both parties to. Nigerian constitution, even the preamble to the Cameroonian constitution says that these international instruments are superior to domestic laws, to domestic municipal laws. You know what I'm saying? It's almost the same situation in Nigeria, but not quite.
Not quite.
Because in Nigeria it has to be ratified, it has to be domesticated. But once it's domesticated, it has the same effect. So they will have to come. The two governments will have to now come together, and respect the judgment of Nigerian the Federal High Court Abuja, and repatriate them. How they do it is their responsibility. There are two states that have come together to violate the rights of citizens. So they should also come together and
correct the wrongs.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you think it is possible?
Why not? Why is it not possible?
And finally, the last question is: you said they were having a meeting at Nera Hotel, and then they were arrested. Some people say they were betrayed by some Cameroonian. You who is very close to them, what has one of them, Ayok, or the others told you about what led to the arrest?
Well, they have not asked Ayok about how they were arrested. I have not asked any of them how they were arrested, because I have not had the opportunity to ask them how they were arrested. But they were able to just, they don't know whether there was about any betrayal. They didn't tell me about any betrayal. They only said this is the agenda for their meeting. They wanted to discuss the issues of refugees.
So he never
in
told
Nigeria,
you,
and also how to work with the Nigerian government to address the issue of the increasing number of refugees. Then also that before they could even have this meeting, they were arrested, and how they were handcuffed, how the Cameroonian officers squeezed the handcuff to such extent that his hand was bleeding.
Whose hand?
Seseko's
hand was bleeding.
Yeah.
So he was tortured by the Cameroonian security forces.
Yes, that is the evidence we have. And then these people were also being beaten. Those brought from Gembu.
From Gembu.
Because they were detained in the same facility.
Good. Now
they call it SCD in Yaoundé.
Okay.
Yeah.
To conclude this.
So as regards betrayal, there is no evidence so far adduced or brought to my knowledge about whether anybody betrayed it. But Cameroon has a military attaché in Nigeria.
But no, but
and it is possible they had been monitoring the activities. and that they
are you insinuating that they have spies in Nigeria?
Definitely, they will have spies in Nigeria.
Okay.
And I will be surprised if Nigeria doesn't have spies in Cameroon.
Okay, so it's mutual.
There must be British spies, American spies, French spies in Nigeria.
Good. Now,
it's normal for countries to have spies in other countries.
But let me ask you a
some
question.
of them disguised as diplomats,
okay,
or as military attaché, or as police attaché, or
let me ask you this.
Immigration attaché.
Let me ask you this question: did he not talk to you about any name?
No.
No names.
I know what you're talking about. There were insinuations here and there about the role played by Naloa and Milan.
Oh yeah. And do you
Naloa,
absolve them?
Let me tell you something.
Yeah.
From what I can see, Naloa she was pregnant when she was arrested, and she had a miscarriage while she was in detention.
And Milan Atam.
No. Let me tell you, why would something like that? Why would you go through all that?
Strain.
Yeah, because of to betray your colleagues.
Okay.
And then as regards Milan, I saw Milan a day after this arrest. When he came to Abuja, he was there. It was barely after, immediately he got there, they had just taken them away when Milan arrived. So he was tipped off about what has just happened. He was trying to check in.
And then they arrested him.
And then they now alerted him that they had just arrested your colleagues. So they ran away.
Okay.
So I met him, they called me, after I was briefed, they called me the next day, and I met him. I met him in Abuja at ShopRite shopping
mall. Yes.
Yeah. So he now explained to me what happened, how his flight was delayed in Lagos, and how he arrived. He would have arrived right on time for them to be arrested.
Now to conclude,
so then after that, he spent some days. I was even trying to assist him to return to
South Africa,
where he came from, through some various sources, some various outlets.
Okay.
And but that we didn't need to do all that again, because she simply went back to the airport, bought a ticket, and returned.
Yeah. Now, finally, there is this legal aspect. Some people say until there's an issuance of a certificate of non-appeal, only then can you be
it's not true.
Confident, triumphant, if you may think.
That is not the way our laws are done. As at today, the judgment is as pronounced by the court. Even if they file a notice of appeal does not amount to a stay of execution. So until it is overturned by a superior court, the judgment stays. That is how it is.
Okay. Lawyer Abdul, it was a pleasure having you. Thank you very much for having spent some time to answer the questions that I have been asking you.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.